Hey everybody, David here, and today I want to talk about Spider-Man. And yes, this might contain a little bit of spoilers from the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer. If you haven't seen that because you're avoiding spoilers for Endgame, then get out of here. Go watch Endgame first, which you should have already by now. If you haven't, though, there's your spoiler warning. I am going to talk about Spider-Man Far From Home, a little bit, a theory that I have, or an idea that I have that I hope will happen, or maybe they'll set up for happening, who knows. So here we go, 3, 2, 1. So let's start off with this. I want to talk about this multiverse concept that they are introducing in this the latest trailer of Spider-Man Far From Home. Mysterio tells Spider-Man about that he's from the multiverse, and this is getting fans to speculate a lot. Apparently there's, I think the Earth number is 338 or 833, I can't remember the number now, that Mysterio's from, and people are saying that's where like the British Spider-Man is also from, and Captain Britain. So I don't know too much about that expertise, but I do want to bring up an idea I had. Would this multiverse concept, because a lot of people have been speculating whether this will be able to allow the X-Men and Fantastic Four to come into the movies now, or something like Venom as well, or even a crossover with the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movie, which also dealt with the multiverse. And it came up with some interesting ideas that got me thinking, could this be an interesting way to bring back Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, but from their own separate universes, which they are? I think this would be a really cool idea. People still have feelings for Tobey Maguire, as Spider-Man. I think he's not my favorite Spider-Man, but he was good for the time that he played it at. I think Andrew Garfield is the best actor to portray Spider-Man, and I think Tom Holland is currently the best current take on Spider-Man. A more updated take, where I feel Tobey Maguire was more basing his performance off like the 60s version of that era of the comic books. And the idea of the multiverse now, and having a team up with Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire just like struck me as like a brilliant idea. And it would be amazing if they did something like this. I'm not going to say that it's going to happen in this movie, but they clearly are opening up the doors to the multiverse concept, which would be interesting. You don't have to look like, there could be other Earths out there where Spider-Man doesn't look like Tom Holland, that he looks like something else. This could also open up the concept of when they need to bring back Iron Man or Captain America or any other character they kill off, this is their way of bringing them back, but maybe with a new actor playing them. So that way that actor can freely play the character the way they want. So there is one cool thing that I think we should all be talking about. Another interesting note, I was listening to a podcast, it was one of the Collider podcasts, where they were saying how they remember, well, I forgot which podcast it was. It could have been Collider Heroes or Collider Live. I can't remember right now which one exactly it was. But one of them, in one of the shows, one of the hosts did say that they did remember hearing, and when you look at it, it makes sense, that Tobey Maguire was supposed to do the voice of Peter Parker in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. The Peter Parker that you saw in the beginning that was killed by the Kingpin. And it makes sense, because when you look at the origin of that Spider-Man, when he's talking about some of the things that happened in his past, a lot of it happened with the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. The stopping of the train, the kissing upside down, the dance on the sidewalk, was all from the Tobey Maguire trilogy. And even I did think coming out of it, I wonder if they were thinking of getting Tobey Maguire back to do that first Spider-Man, because I found out that the second Spider-Man was voiced by a different actor. The first one was actually voiced by Chris Pine. And it would have made sense if Tobey Maguire was the first one that they were thinking of when writing that part. In the same podcast, they were saying that they heard, don't take this as fact, take it with a grain of salt, they heard that that they might be thinking for the Spider-Man sequel, for the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse sequel, the sequel to that film with Miles Morales, that they might be thinking of trying to get Andrew Garfield, Tom Holland, and Tobey Maguire to come and do the voiceovers for their respective Spider-Mans from different universes. Wouldn't this be a cool way to do, like, what if Spider-Man is the franchise that's going to explore the multiverse even in live action? That would be fantastic, because there are a lot of different versions right now of that character. 3 live action versions, 4 if you count the one from, I think they did a TV series in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, with the Eldest Von Trapp kid from The Sound of Music. That kid actually played Spider-Man in a live-action TV series. And then they also had the Japanese live-action series, which Toei, the Japanese company behind Power Rangers, also did a Japanese version of Spider-Man where he had a giant robot Zord. So, I mean, they could do a whole thing with it, either in animation or live action. But I think the really cool thing would be to do it in live action and have Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield return and have the 3 live action big feature film Spider-Mans teaming up for a wild adventure. I think it would be really neat. And hell, you could even do it with Daredevil also, because Ben Affleck played Daredevil. I doubt Ben Affleck would return to that role. And you got Charlie Cox. So, I mean, it's possible. A multiverse idea, it's out there in that kind of a version, right? And even the Hulk. You have 3 Hulks out there. You got Edward Norton, you got Mark Ruffalo, and you got Eric Bana. Now, obviously, the Edward Norton and Mark Ruffalo Hulk are the same Hulk. Or are there? Is that something that they could say, well, maybe it was, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe that was an alternate version of that character, and he just happened to go through a similar path that the Mark Ruffalo version went through. The idea of it, and you could even use that excuse with Rhodey too. Remember, in the first Iron Man movie, Terrence Howard played Rhodey, right? And then he was replaced by Don Cheadle. I would like to see it more done with Spider-Man, because I think if people saw Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire return, people would lose their minds, especially with Tobey Maguire. I mean, what's Tobey Maguire been doing anyways? I don't want to say he's like his career's gone off. I think Tobey Maguire is a really good actor. But I mean, come on. It would be cool. And I know he enjoyed playing that role. He probably was tired of people talking about it and asking questions about it all the time, because no actor wants to be typecast. That's a fair thing to do, okay, or to feel. And Andrew Garfield, I mean, I know he has no regrets. I think he had a little bit of bad blood after how the breakup went down. But I think he'd be up if Kevin Feige called him up and said, hey, Andrew, do you want to put on the suit one last time to give yourself a last hurrah? I think Andrew Garfield would be up for it, because he was a huge fan of that character. And I think there's a little nerd inside Andrew Garfield that he would be up for playing that role again. Hell, maybe he even can pop up in a Deadpool movie now, because Deadpool and Spider-Man had a thing together, right? Maybe Andrew Garfield can be part of the Deadpool universe. Who knows? Because we know Disney and Marvel is doing something with Deadpool, even though they'll put the Fox brand most likely on there to show that this is the R-rated stuff and this is the PG-13 stuff. But Andrew Garfield, you can play Spider-Man in the R-rated Deadpool, because why not? We got Tom Holland to keep the kiddies okay. So I don't know. There's a lot of ways they can do this multiverse idea and have fun with it. And the multiverse intrigues me a lot. I like the way the Flash does it, even though the Flash can get a little messy sometimes on how they do it. I'm looking forward to the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover that they're going to be doing next fall. That's going to be a lot of fun. So I would like to see how Marvel would handle it on a movie scale. Something that I think DC could do, but they have no plans clearly for doing it. They could have beaten Marvel at the punch if they had just stuck to their guns and just planned things out. But there's no structure there. There's no showrunner as Marvel has. So we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of options on the table, and I'm very curious. You know, Marvel hit it out of the park with Endgame. As you can notice, I bought this hoodie on on this Avengers hoodie on Amazon recently. So I really loved Endgame, and I'm showing my fan aspect of me that represents it. So yeah, look, I can't wait. Spider-Man Far From Home, you're the first clue that we have to look forward to in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I'm ending this video here. Please, guys, comment below and tell me your theories on the multiverse. Where do you want to see them go with it? Are you worried that it could be too complex and too complicated that people not care about the MCU anymore? Or do you think there's a lot of potential that maybe we could see something like this, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield return as Spider-Man? Who knows? With that being said, I hope you guys liked this video. Please subscribe to my channel, and until next time, take care.